Hey guys, my name's Kadamia, and welcome to the setup guide for Advanced Combat Tracker for Final Fantasy XIV and FFLogs.com. I'm going to be splitting this tutorial up into two sections. First up, we'll be talking about setting up and configuring Advanced Combat Tracker for compatibility with FFLogs.com. Once we're done there, we'll be talking about configuration options for personal parsing inside of ACT itself. If you want to skip to either section independently, you can simply click the annotations to jump to that part of the guide. For now, let's dive into installation of ACT itself. First up, if you don't have Microsoft.NET 4.0 framework installed, you're going to need it. Pop open your favorite web browser and head to this address and click the download button. Launch the web installer, and if you already have the .NET framework installed, it'll tell you. Otherwise, just proceed along with the installer. Once you're done, head to advancedcombattracker.com. Click on the downloads button. You're going to need two things from this page in particular. Under the main program downloads section, you'll need the Advanced Combat Tracker setup, and under the Parsing plugin downloads, you'll need to download the Final Fantasy XIV Parsing plugin, which is shown right here. They're both circled in red. If you're on Chrome, like I am, it might complain about the files of this type being able to harm your computer. Just click the keep button. Once you've got both downloaded, go ahead and run the installer. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'll be keeping all of the defaults just to make things simple. Next up, go to the location where you downloaded the setup and the Final Fantasy XIV ACT plugin DLL file. Cut that DLL file, then go to the install folder for the Advanced Combat Tracker and paste the DLL file in. Now, launch the Advanced Combat Tracker. Please remember to do this using the Run as Administrator option. It's very important. When it initially loads up, click on the Startup Settings tab. There's one option you want to change in here. Specifically, change the log file split option from its default value of 64 to 0. Now head over to the Plugins tab and find the Browse button and click on it. You should see the Final Fantasy XIV _ACT_plugin.dll in the dialog box that pops up. Select it and click Open. Then simply click the Add Enable Plugin button. The plugin should show up in a white box with a message saying that the plugin has been started. You should also have a Final Fantasy XIV Settings tab. Now simply go back to the Main tab. We've got a few settings in Windows itself that we need to change. Click on Start, and then go to your Control panel and click on Windows Firewall. Click on the Allow a Program or Feature through Windows Firewall dialog option circled in red on screen. Click Allow Another Program. You should see the Advanced Combat Tracker in the box that pops up. Select it. Next, click the network location types and make sure that both home, work, and public are checked, and click OK. Then hit the Add button, click OK to close out of the dialog box, and you're all done in Windows. Now we've got a few in-game options to change. Log into Final Fantasy XIV and open the Character Configurations menu, which you can do by pressing K. Scroll down and click on the log labeled as Battle, then click on the Battle tab inside of this. What you need to do is click the button labeled Check All, click Apply, then click the Subject drop-down menu. Select the next option on the list, and do the exact same thing. You'll need to repeat this for every single option on the drop-down menu, except for the Other PC and Pets Companions Other PC options. And that's it for FFLogs setup. Now it's time to talk about setup for personal parsing. Head back to Advanced Combat Tracker and go to the Options tab. On the list of options, find Main Table/Encounters and click the General subheading. You should see the entry Number of Seconds to Wait after the last combat action to begin a new encounter. This option controls how ACT handles automatic encounter splitting. For dungeons, you'll generally want this set to something short, like 5 seconds, to ensure the parser does encounter splits before and after bosses. For primal or coil fights, however, that generally have long pauses mid-combat during transitional phases, you'll need to set this to something much longer, like 30 seconds or higher, to make sure that ACT keeps single encounters together. Personally, I recommend leaving it at 30 seconds all the time, and simply pressing the End Encounter button in the main ACT combat window before any boss fight. A bit further down, under the Output Display Collapse, you should see the Mini Parse window. I highly recommend you configure this to update every second and simply use it as your overlay. If this window does not show up for you, make sure that the Show Mini button is pressed in the top right of ACT. Head over to the Plugins tab and select FF14 Settings. It is highly recommended that you check Combine Pets with Owner and simulate individual dot crits in order to produce accurate information in regards to summoners and other classes that use dots. It is also critically important that you never disable parsing from network data, as this will make your log files completely invalid on FFLogs.com. You may also change your log file storage location from here. That's about it for basic configuration of ACT and FFLogs. Time to test it all out. For this, just go hit a target dummy or enemy in your area and then Alt-Tab to bring up the Advanced Combat Logger. You should see that it's created a label for the zone that you're in and for your current target. Information such as the duration, your total damage done, uptime, and encounter DPS should all show up here. If you go to a separate zone and start fighting mobs, you'll notice a separate zone entry will show up for each area that you fight in. This means you've correctly configured the Advanced Combat Logger. Thanks for stopping by and checking out this guide, guys. Be sure to sub to see more of the crazy stuff I do, like this exceptionally odd Shiva Extreme in first person. Anyway, Gadamia out.